Tonight, the death toll has climbed to 109, and search efforts continue along the Guadalupe River.
In a press conference today, Governor Greg Abbott announced 161 people are still missing in Kerr County. A sobering number, as he promises rescue crews will not stop until every single person has been rescued or their body recovered.
Texas is in this with the people in the hill country right here. We are not leaving until this job is finished. The job right now, the primary job right now, continues to be locating everybody who was affected by this flood. There still remain those who are missing.
Right now, we know more than 1,000 volunteers are assisting in the ongoing search operations, but it's been 4 days since any victims were found alive. We also know a drone collision with a rescue helicopter temporarily halted part of the search. And tonight, law enforcement is reminding everyone to not fly personal drones in an effort to help rescues.
We have team coverage for you this evening from the Texas Hill Country and right here in Houston. We start though with Matt Doherty, who is live from the town of Center Point, Texas. That's in Kerr County. Describe things from your vantage point this evening, Matt.
We're standing at the Lions Park Dam where the water level has returned to a normal level, a safe level tonight, but one look around is all that it takes to see that nothing is as it was before. As the sun begins to set on the Guadalupe River this fifth night after the storm, the water beneath the bridge in Center Point, Texas is flowing like normal again. But life along the riverbanks looks anything but normal.
Flash floods, we get them all the time.
Gavin Walston was up early last Friday morning on the 4th of July and drove from his home a few miles outside of town to this bridge.
We have the warnings. There was warnings for heavy rain. There was warnings for flash floods, but they didn't anticipate being as strong as it was.
For more than half an hour, Gavin recorded the surging river water as the rapids grew increasingly fierce, rising higher by the minute.
And then it just unfolded from there.
In 30 minutes, Gavin recorded the Guadalupe rise well over 20 feet, carrying everything it picked up along the way. Giant cypress trees, debris, and even a home. Gavin stopped recording only when it became too unsafe for him to stay any longer.
I wanted to capture everything as it was and not distract from it.
5 days later, the water has receded, exposing riverbanks littered with debris.
Right now, we're currently clearing out the riverbed from all this wood and such, so we can try and find as many people as possible.
After learning today that more than 160 people from Kerr County are still missing, the scope of the catastrophe has multiplied. Elijah Warner and his friend Sage came to Center Point from San Antonio to help with the volunteer search, organized by the local fire department.
And it's Texas. We all come together here.
He tells me they're going back over the sections of riverfront already covered by the official search teams, making sure nothing was missed.
We're also going to be coming back with dogs.
This evening, one of their dogs indicated there was something dead inside this packed mountain of debris. A deputy watched nearby as the volunteers began to dig.
Matt, it is such an awful sight out there, and there's so much cleanup work to be done. What else have you seen up close?
Well, I have to tell you, Mia, where we're standing here at the dam, it's especially bad because you can imagine a dam, it's going to collect a lot of the things. Then as the water, continues to rush through, it starts to deposit it on the shoreline. So, a lot of the big objects are out here, a lot of refrigerators we're seeing, some cars. And it smells, terrible because there are dead things out here on the riverbanks. There's a calf, that's about 100 yards behind me. So it's especially bad where we are right now.
Matt Doherty with the difficult task live in Kerr County for us tonight. Thank you for your in-depth reporting.
As you can see, the damage across Kerr County is extensive. With the floodwaters receded, we're now getting a better look at the wreckage and hearing more stories of survival. Orko Mana is live in Kerrville sharing one man's story and how local businesses are stepping up to help. Orko.
Well, the destruction is staggering out here on Waterfront Drive in Kerrville. You can see here that there are broken pieces of homes that have been left in the lawns and all these items barely salvaged. Tonight, the cleanup continues.
I was back here in my master bedroom.
Greg Atkins walks us through his
I was
Kerrville
asleep.
home. He woke up early in the morning on July 4th to the sound of transformers popping and the sight of water from the Guadalupe River creeping up his back stairs.
The water never got above that first step right there. So I knew we're in trouble. I just immediately ran back to my bedroom, started putting on clothes.
The river kept rising, his home flooding within minutes.
I wanted to get out. I wanted to get out as quick as possible because I didn't want to get trapped in here.
Greg says he got out and witnessed a man renting one of his properties swimming to safety. And by this point, you were already up the street?
I was up the street right up here.
So if you had stayed here a little bit longer, would have you been in that same
I would have been,
situation?
Yeah, I would have been down the river, stuck in a window, something.
5 days later, and the water from the Guadalupe River has receded, but there's a lot of debris left behind. You can see some of that here. Greg also tells me that these remnants in his yard are actually from a house from down the street that was ripped off its base by the floodwaters. Luckily, a young boy inside that home was found safe in a nearby tree. Now, the focus is on cleaning up this mess. Neighbors working together to pick up the pieces.
People are coming from the neighborhood and from the whole community to help.
Help also coming in the form of pizzas from Carmine's Italian.
I'm just a heavy believer in helping the community when it's down.
We met up with owner Carmine Fazzolari as he was making a dozen pies for free. For days, the restaurant has been baking pizzas for volunteers and first responders.
It's just important for the guys that are out there risking their lives. This is the best I can do.
And that's so great to see. In fact, so many restaurants and businesses in the area are offering up their services at no cost as this community continues to try to move forward. Reporting live in Kerrville tonight, Orko Manna, KHOU 11 News.
Great to see the community coming together. Orko, thank you.
As the search for the missing continues, a longtime Houston area volunteer organization is doing what they can to help in the Hill Country. Texas EquuSearch has deployed more than 100 people to assist with recovery and search efforts. Stephen Goen joins us now with more on their efforts tonight. Stephen.
Yeah, Mia, and this may be one of the most expansive efforts that EquuSearch has taken on in recent years. Their volunteers got to the area on Sunday, and they've been working in some pretty difficult conditions, sifting through that flood debris, hoping to find answers for the families still looking. In Kerr County, as search and rescue teams urgently look for the missing, they're joined by more than 120 volunteers with Texas EquuSearch, many of them from the Houston area.
We are there for the families, and we try to be there for those that are lost and try to find those that are lost.
Speaking to KHOU 11, EquuSearch board member Tom Butler said he was awestruck by the conditions on the ground. You've seen the devastation and the damage firsthand. Can you kind of describe some of that?
You can see the power, the destructive power of these floods that came through there. Where they've been these guardrails on bridges.
EquuSearch founder Tim Miller compared the aftermath to what you'd see after a tsunami.
You know, all the high debris piles and all the vehicles.
With all that destruction, Butler said every search effort's been different. In some cases, they've deployed boats. At other times, they've used heavy machinery to tackle debris piles as high as 60 feet.
Then that might necessitate mechanical equipment. And you take it off slowly, layer by layer, maybe 2 or 3 feet at a time. We've not found any live victims. For us, it has been a sad reality.
Today, Butler said he was a part of the EquuSearch crew that helped locate the remains of 3 people. Just yesterday, they helped discover 6 more before noon, with search dogs leading the way. All of it taking a toll.
You know, a deal like this will certainly wear you out physically, and it takes an emotional toll.
Still, Butler said they all continue to work for the families who need closure.
That's what goes through your head a lot, is, you know, you would want somebody out there doing it for you that had the capability to do it.
Now, if you are looking to support the EquuSearch mission, you can find their information online on our website. We're told that EquuSearch volunteers could be in the Hill Country for several more days, if not longer. We're live in Houston tonight. Stephen Gowen, KHOU 11 News.
I appreciate all that EquuSearch does and all that they sacrifice. Stephen, thank you. New at 10, just 2 days before deadly floods swept through Camp Mystic, killing more than 24, mostly children, Texas inspectors signed off on the camp's emergency plan. Records released today by the Department of State Health Services show the camp met state requirements for disaster procedures, including evacuation protocols and staff duties. But 5 years of inspection reports offer no details of those plans, raising new questions about how prepared the camp truly was for the July 4th flooding.
Also new today, KHOU 11 Investigates has confirmed Kerr County did not send out any emergency alerts on the 4th of July. A federal database that tracks public alerts shows the county did not use its code red alert system to call for evacuations until July 6th, 2 days after the flooding event. Investigative reporter Jeremy Rogowski joins us with other details he's learned today.
I had a candid conversation with a meteorologist who spent 34 years with the National Weather Service. He says the deadly floods along the Guadalupe River were bound to happen.
It was a ticking time bomb, Camp Mystic.
Why do you say that?
Because it was bound to happen.
Jeff Evans has spent his adult life predicting severe weather and protecting those in its path. He bluntly says building camps along the Guadalupe just doesn't make sense.
The terrain and the way those creeks converged, it was just a matter of time to what happened on the 4th of July has happened.
At Camp Mystic, time reveals the risk. These headlines of flood damage date back to 1932. And as recently as last year, Kerr County's hazard mitigation plan predicted that jurisdictions will experience a flood event in the next year. Evans says for any community, the challenge is getting the risk to resonate.
The agency, the National Weather Service, has been looking at this for decades. How do we get people to understand and then take proper action?
On July 4th, Evans believes the National Weather Service warnings were timely and should have been effective for evacuations, which leads to the question many are asking.
What plans and protocols were in place and should have been in place, and then were those protocols followed? I don't know what they did and the timeline. That will come with time.
Youth camps in Texas are required to have disaster protocols. We obtained state inspection reports for Camp Mystic for the past 5 years, which show it did have a required emergency plan. But the state does not keep copies of those plans on file.
Veteran meteorologist Evans cautions against jumping to conclusions or pointing fingers this early on. A full assessment and lessons learned, he says, will come with time to help everyone prepare better for the future. Back to you.
We'll take it from here. Thank you, Jeremy.